welcome to another edition of the Culture Hours. Really specifically there for our members, but for you, the audience, as well. The Culture Curator membership is a complete community of federally driven owners and executives across the world. The membership provides you with all you need to curate the company culture that you've always envisioned. The membership shows up and works just like you do every single day with a passion that's focused and relentless and never stops. It's going to inspire you to yield results. Today on the Culture Hour, I have one of the strategic partners that's not only on the Premier Rapport website, but also one of the strategic experts that you get on the membership side of Culture Creators in Conversation. So today I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to ask our career coach what it is that she has heard most commonly over the last week or two, because I know her phone has been ringing off the hook. So take it away. Remind everybody again who you are and your expertise, and then let's dive into the hot buttons for the week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Shelly. So my name is Kayla Key. I am a freelance career coach and writer, and I'm so happy to be talking to Shelly today and the members and everyone that's involved with Culture Curators in Conversation. Over the past week or so, probably over the past month or so, a lot of the clients that I've had the pleasure of working with have been asking me about a number of different things, but the topic that surfaces the most has been career transitions. That's been coming up a lot. People are trying to figure out how to transition in their careers.
So it's just to clarify for myself and the viewers, you're talking about people who are in a company and they don't want to leave a company. They're trying to transition into a new position within the company. Is that what you're saying?
Right. Well, actually, what I've been talking to a lot when it comes to my clients, yes, like you said, they're trying to transition. But what I've been seeing a lot of lately is that they're transitioning industries. So there may be someone who says, I want to switch from human resources to education. Maybe I want to work in an entirely new industry. How do I break into that? That's what I've been getting a lot of.
Okay, great. So very much on the employee side then. And with that, I don't think we've ever covered this before on the membership, but your position is one that not only helps the employee side, but obviously the employer side. So you can sit on both fences to be able to help coach and guide both, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I'm in a really unique position and I'm grateful for that because I get insights from employers that's helpful to job candidates and employees, but I also get insights from the other way around too. So it's a pretty unique position.
Okay, so two sides then let's talk about. And for the viewers who have maybe seen the Culture Hour for the first time, for our members, we go into a deeper dive. So at one point, we will actually stop this conversation, pause it, and then we'll give the members a little bit more or a whole lot more information. But for the viewers today, can you give them a couple of insights from both sides of that fence? So the question would be, I am an employee and I'm looking to, like you said, transition out of maybe HR into more of a traditional operations role or something, or maybe I'm completely changing a trade. What are some things that you begin to ask them to help them with clarity? Let's start with that.
Absolutely. So one of the first things that I usually try to tackle is kind of their approach to it. And I usually gauge their approach by how they've asked the question. So kind of like how you did. A lot of times when I'm hearing the question from clients, they ask me something along the lines of, how do I convince an employer that I can do this job? How do I get them to take a chance on me? So the first thing that I usually try to tackle is helping them to shift their mindset. And that's my first tip, honestly. I feel like changing your career starts with changing your mindset and changing the way you think about this transition. So
beautiful. So for the members, we are going to, remember, stay tuned for part 2, but she's going to give a little bit more, a little deeper dive into that point. Does that sound fair? Okay.
Absolutely.
Number 2 then, let's say that I am actually the employer and I am getting ready to maybe interview some of these candidates that are transitioning. What are some things that I might look for or that I need to maybe be persuaded on why I should look at somebody who doesn't necessarily have the skill in the background? What are some things you say to employers to make sure that they really have an unbiased, unconscious decision to allow somebody to interview that doesn't have the skill set?
Great question. I love that you tapped into that, because there are some employers that feel like, well, I'm not biased. I mean, I think most of us feel like, well, of course, I'm going to look at it from a fresh lens, but that's not always so easy to do. So I'm really glad that you tapped into that. If they haven't already presented that, like, hey, I want to make sure I have a fresh perspective, I will bring that up. Since you brought that up, I would just go right ahead to that next step, which is looking for I would say a revamped resume. So your resume, of course, is a critical tool in any job search, but it's especially helpful when you are transitioning careers or you're transitioning into a new industry. Sometimes people try to use the same resume that they've been using in their current industry, and employers can tell. So I usually try to tell them, you want to make sure that you can tell that this candidate has put some effort into transitioning their resume and their application materials right along with other items they've had to transition. And then the other part of that is making sure that there's some type of like qualification summary at the opening of that resume to highlight transferable skills. Employers are looking for that. And sometimes they say, well, how am I going to dig for that? How am I going to find that if this person doesn't have roots in this industry?
Yeah.
That's how you find it. Some type of a brief summary or a bulleted list, perhaps, of transferable skills in their resume.
Beautiful. All right. So I know you have a lot more to say, but we're going to hold that for the members. So I'm going to put a twist or a spin on this, because after all, it is the culture hour. One thing that, or not one thing, a couple things that you mentioned with the transition. I think so many times now that companies are becoming more and more intentional about hires, that it's not as much about the skill as it used to be. It's more so about the behaviors, the cognitive, the emotional intelligence, and the fit to the culture. And that definitely goes on both sides. Is what is the employee looking for? And I know you have those conversations, and we're going to talk about that in a minute in part two. But then the second part is the employer is becoming more open. And in many cases, I've heard executive level positions that the group or the board of director is actually looking for people who do not have the skill, because then they're not coming in with a predetermined, this is how we do it. They're coming in very open-minded and pretty creative, because they're not in a trap. They're not in a trap. So I think that the ability to transition is becoming a little easier because of that scope, as long as we've got the confidence piece. So I'm going to cut this part of our open dialogue short, but I do hope that the viewers got a couple of good tips already from things that you said, because I definitely do. But we're going to take a bit of a pause, and we're going to wrap up this part and then do part two for the membership. But for everybody who tuned in today, thank you so much. I'll have the name of our, where you can get more information about the membership, or you can contact either one of us for just general questions, or of course, as always, pose any of your questions to the Culture Hour. You can private message me directly on that, or give us a call, or you can go online. So there's all kinds of ways to find it. So until then, signing out for today's Culture Hour Part 1. Have a fabulous day. My name is Shelly Smith, your culture curator, and
Kayla Key. Thank you so much. And I'm hoping I see everyone in the membership portal so we can chat some more.
Beautiful. Remember, she is your expert career coach, and that is for both employee and employer. Stay tuned for part 2 memberships, or members rather.